Okay guys, Jack here, founder of the Executive Body Standard, back with another quick video. This time I'm going to lay out a framework, if one was to exist, from how to transform from skinny fat, and we'll define what skinny fat is, to a six-pack or a decent physique within a 90-day period or a 90-day transformation. Okay, this has got a lot of assumptions in place. Just as a caveat, this is an aggressive timeline. This is going to require some definitions around this stuff. But if this is my framework for how to get dialed in and go from a place that I think a lot of people experience and suffer in, which is this label skinny fat, to a place of decent physique. So if you're someone that suffers with if you're someone that considers themselves skinny fat, if you are someone that is not particularly heavy set but feels slightly weak, under muscular, or like they have stubborn body fat and not quite the frame to maintain it, and wants to get in shape, wants to get a six-pack, wants to have a degree of definition in their muscles, this one's for you. This one's going to lay out the framework over a 3-month period on how you can either achieve that goal or make a significant way along, make significant progress in that journey, being attacked by a fly. So this one's for you. I hope you find this useful. Okay, so first of all, I just want to set out the definition for someone that is considered skinny fat, or at least my definition for it, okay? Which is, put plain and simply, someone that has low muscle or a small amount of muscle and a moderate degree of fat. Okay. Now it might be that that person has been on a considerable weight loss journey and therefore was previously considered fat, as due to diet control, due to perhaps training in the gym as well, lost a large degree of fat, but now feels slightly weak, undersized, and would consider themselves skinny, but also have some stubborn body fat. Okay. It might be actually the other way around, that someone has just got has been creeping up in their fat levels due to lifestyle factors or just due to inactivity over a certain period of time. Both can fall within this bucket. The key first hurdle for both of these groups that often needs to be overcome is the fact that the weigh-in scale, or the scale, should no longer be their primary method or measurement for progress when it comes to their fitness journey, okay? Now, that's not to say that we ignore the scale completely. It is still an important metric that we need to pay attention to, but the weigh-in scale can be misleading purely because of the fact that we need to now embark on a muscle building journey, and building muscle will increase your weight to a degree. Muscle weighs more than fat. Everyone kind of knows that. So the weigh-in scale is no longer our primary measurement for where they are at. Instead, what they need to be really dialed into now is body composition. And the best ways, from my perspective, to measure that are two. First of all, performance in the gym, performance levels in the gym, strength on the bar. It doesn't have to be just purely strength, but it can be any kind of hypertrophy metric, but I am talking primarily about weights and performance in the gym. And the second is how we look, and visibly, and progress photos. Progress photos are really a fundamental to manage us across this journey. Okay, so assuming that you get that mindset shift dialed down, assuming that you're able to shift your importance in line with those two factors, I'm now going to lay out the framework that I would follow if I was skinny fat, that I'd instruct my clients to follow if they consider themselves skinny fat, to transform their physique, to recomposition their physique, and achieve a degree of definition and a six-pack within that 90-day window. Okay, I'm going to break this down into 3 key phases, and I'm going to talk now about the first phase. Now, because of the timeline, we're going to go quite aggressive with this. So within this first phase, my instruction would be, and of course this can differ from person to person, from goal to goal, but as a general rule, my instruction would be weight training sessions come in 4 times a week. Okay, 4 times a week. The target being that we're going to hit every muscle group twice per week. That way, we're going to maximize our response to that training in that short window. We're going to maximize our ability to create the correct intensity and frequency to overload our muscles and to grow, which of course is our primary goal within a recomposition phase. Okay, to fuel this, I'm also going to be aggressive on the protein count as well, right? I'm going to go right at the top of that window when it comes to ratio to weight. So 2.5 grams per kilo of body weight becomes non-negotiable, and that becomes dialed in and broken down and consumed within 5 to 6 sit-ins every 2 to 3 hours during the waking day. That is non-negotiable, and that supports the training intensity that we're going to be taking up in those 4 sessions, which, by the way, are working to failure. There's no reps in reserve that are required here. They're intense sessions working to failure to force the body to overload, to force the body to adapt, and to fuel that adaptation off the back of it with the correct level of protein intake consistently through the day. I'll also make sure 2 other things are dialed in, okay? First, of course, recovery, and in particular sleep. 7 to 8 hours minimum per night. We need to create the correct environment for the body to recover to those sessions and get into an anabolic state. And also hydration, which is so important to maintain the body's hydration, performance levels, and for health as well, okay? The final point that I just want to touch on, and this might not be the same for everyone. If someone is coming just from a lifestyle where their fat levels have just creeped up over time due to inactivity, then perhaps this is not relevant. But for someone that's been on a particular weight loss journey or been trying to lose fat for a period of time and now wants to turn the dial on that skinny fat label, then removing what I'm going to call cardio abuse, which is excessive cardio, taking on too much activity within the day, burning themselves out, which they've got into a habit of doing to support that fat loss journey. That is suboptimal. That is really going to hold us back from a muscle building perspective. We need to make sure the body is in an anabolic state and it has the required rest and recovery to be able to grow muscle. So excessive cardio comes out of the program. Assuming that we make good progress through that first phase, I then want to move on into month 2 to the second phase, which I'm going to call metabolic priming, okay? Just a fancy label for the month. Now, 3 key things are going to become really important within this second phase, okay? The first is those tracking metrics that I mentioned at the beginning of the window. We need to start looking at how we're progressing, both with performance within the gym, but how we're looking from a physique perspective as well. Are we seeing that adaptation to the beginning of the journey? And if we're not, why not? And what do we do to pivot off the back of it? If we are, brilliant, but how do we enhance it and how do we push even harder, okay? We have to go by those tracking metrics, those photos, those metrics that we're tracking in the gym as baseline. I'm then going to establish a low intensity movement target, okay? Something that's going to boost the metabolic rate, burn any stubborn fat that's left around, okay? But still be low stress enough to support an anabolic state within the body. It could be understanding what your baseline step count is within the day and then just nudging this up slightly to encourage a slightly higher caloric burn throughout the day. The best way that I've found to do this is morning movement or late evening movement. It's different for everyone, but that's something that's going to be introduced in month 2 or in the second phase. And the third point that I just want to touch on is that I'd introduce like calorie cycling as well. So we would start having higher and lower days for calories because we're maintaining such a fine balance from a caloric intake perspective around maintenance, around baseline. I would start introducing higher caloric intake days on the days that we're training to support that increased intensity within the gym. And then lower caloric intake days on the days that we're not training to make sure that we're not over consuming, that we're not in any risk of building excess fat within those days. I want the body to be in an optimal state for muscle building, but have no excess to be able to support fat preservation or increase the body's fat stores. Okay, performance improvement is absolutely key all across each of these phases, okay? We have to be moving forward in the gym, week on week, no excuses. We can introduce tactics and tools to be able to do this, like drop sets, like forced reps, etc. But progress has to keep moving to make sure that we remain in that progressive overload state. But at the same time, we need to make sure that that muscle building is happening without increasing any fat on the body, without any stubborn weight coming along. If we manage to maintain that state, what we're going to start seeing is our body recomposition, because not only is that excess muscle, that increase in muscle, going to increase the energy demands in our body and force those remaining fat stores, force that energy intake to be primarily used for muscle growth and muscle preservation, but it's also gonna weigh more and consist a greater degree within our body percentage, right? If we have a larger muscle mass relative to the fat that we've got, then by definition, our body fat percentage drops, which is another key indicator that we're going to look for. And then just finally moving on to phase 3, which I'm going to call refinement, okay? And this is just the final month where we're going to dial in slightly what we're doing. Now, what we might like to do is just slightly pull back on calories within this final month to start dialing in, start tightening up, to reduce and show up any abs that we're looking to reveal within the physique. This could be where the journey becomes the hardest, okay? And this is where the accountability factor from a coach or to instill the right mindset into someone is really fundamental. They have to identify with the person they want to become. If they're starting to get hungry, if they're starting to get a bit tired, if the training intensity is starting to become a bit tough, it can lead to a feeling that someone just doesn't want to follow through this journey if they haven't put the right mental work in place to support the desired physique that they want to achieve. Making sure someone's mindset is right, making sure that they remain committed towards their goal, that they remember the importance of their goal is so fundamental as we look to close off this journey. And finally, if there are any lingering kind of bad routines, bad habits, weekend routines, which often seem to be the kind of pitfalls that people struggle with, then this is where they really need to be dialed in, okay? There are no kind of excuses. There are no off-plan days when it comes to cementing in a transformation like this from skinny fat to six-pack effectively in such a short window. At the end of the journey, we really do need to be fully dialed in to remove any stubborn fat and to really give the physique a bit of a pop as we move into that final move in towards that final goal. And assuming, it sounds pretty simple, but assuming you achieve all of those things, there's no reason why you can't go on this journey from skinny fat to six-pack. 90 days, of course, might be aggressive. It depends, of course, from a weight loss perspective where you are, from a muscle building perspective where you are. It depends on your baseline, but it's still a decent period of time to really achieve a decent physique. A lot of people think that 90-day transformations are not realistic and not achievable, or like Photoshop when they see those pictures, etc. That's not true. You can make massive progress in 90 days if you are training with the correct intensity, if you are dialed in on your diet, and if you are doing everything it takes and identifying and becoming the person that has the desired physique and not clinging on to bad habits or thinking that you can get away with such a journey without fundamentally changing your lifestyle and changing really who you are as a person. And that is what it comes down to, both to achieve that goal, but also to set yourself up with the tools for longevity to keep onto that physique in the long term beyond that short-term target, which of course should be the goal for everyone. Okay, guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll come back to you. If you are about to embark on this journey, if this does sound like you, drop me a message. This is my speciality. This is what I help people with the most, body recomposition. I know it through and through. Drop me a message. I will be able to help you on this journey, even if it's just hints and insight or some tips to manage you along. Or if you want to achieve it and you are serious about achieving it, you can reach out for one-to-one coaching, and I guarantee you, if you do as I say, you will hit it 100%. You will achieve your goal. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you like the video. Give the video a like, give the channel a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.